Hello guys, how are we doing? Today I give you the new RIO map spawn guide for Hardpoint on MW3 ranked play. This is the new map that has been replaced, which is replacing Terminal Hardpoint in the new MW3 map play rule set. And today we're just going to be going through spawns. So this is going to give you a little bit of information on where you're spawning means across the map. So where you spawn should determine where you know the enemy are, how to flip, how to manipulate spawns to the best of your ability. Obviously this works better as a 4-man, but hopefully you can still use this information so you can go, oh, I've spawned here, that means the enemy must be here, here, and here. So you're going to learn a lot from this, hopefully. And if you want to see any spawn guides, if this is your first spawn guide and you want to see any of the ones I've done previously, feel free to check out the playlist this has been attached to. So for you newcomers, if there are any of you, I'm just going to give you a general guide to what the spawns mean. I've got my little arrow here. The rings, the hollow rings, are the spawn points. The main spawn points are the pink and the dark blue. Pink means the good spawns, the blue means the bad spawns, and then the teal and the yellow rings are the alternative spawns. So they're just spawns that aren't the main spawns. You then have the block points. So these shaded areas here where you can block said fraud spawns from. So for example, to block these blue spawns, you can be in this dark blue area just here. Note that if you are in a spawn or you can see a spawn point, that will also block it. So obviously I'm not going to cover the whole map in color, and these are just ideas and places where you can block the spawns from. So kicking off with P1. So P1's top of the Eskies here, really top mid map, and it's a really nice mixy hill. It's a bit of a 50-50 hill. The two main spawns are blue and pink. And as I said, it's very 50-50, but I'd say pink is slightly better because of the fact that P2 is just here, so you spawn close to there. So if the blue spawns are blocked, you'll end up spawning teal, and if the pink spawns are blocked, you'll end up spawning yellow. Now you can also spawn teal or yellow if your team has control of that half of the map. So say for example you spawn teal and you have someone pushed up towards the bridge to where my cursor is, that'll be why. If you spawn teal and that player isn't there, chances are the enemy is flanking around the right hand side here and pushing up towards boxes, and that's probably why you spawn there. Now if you spawn yellow and you have teammate pushed up towards boxes, that's why you spawn there. Let's say if you were spawning pink and you end up spawning yellow and you've got a teammate in this area, that's why. However, if that's not the case, very similar to the teal situation, it generally means that someone from the blue side has pinched around the bridge and they've sort of flipped you out of pink and now you're spawning yellow. Ideally, if you're the blue team, you want to try and keep the hill 50-50 whilst trying to send one person on your team to block the yellow and pink spawns, and this will spawn the enemy out at blue unless blocked, in which case they'll spawn teal. So say for example, if you're in this general vicinity here where my cursor is, that will block both yellow and pink spawns, and that will basically enable the flip. Now as I said, if you've got teammates also here and therefore pink, yellow and blue are all blocked, the enemy will then spawn teal. So just be very careful if you've got someone here whilst you're doing that who maybe have just spawned in, because they might get shot in the back. Now if you're the pink team, you want to try and watch the left flank at most times whilst your team keeps the hill 50-50. Realistically, you're trying to just keep the hill, maybe white, maybe contested, just trying to keep the hill 50-50 whilst you make sure that the enemy from the blue team can't flank around the right and flip, because as I say, it's quite easy to do so. Now if you used to spawn pink and you end up spawning blue, generally means the enemy has flanked and blocked both spawns, but if teammate kills this enemy, they'll start to spawn directly behind you off spawn, so be very careful. So yeah, if you spawn blue, that'll be because an enemy has just pushed through here, but let's say your teammates managed to kill that guy really quickly, you've run forward a little bit off spawn, any kills they then get for your team, the enemy will spawn behind you, so just be very careful if it's a super mixy hill, just to have your back, just to watch your back at all times. So then moving into P2, which is this area just here, there's like some pillars, a truck, and then a little bit of cover. There's like a food stall there. So the main spawns again here are pink and blue. Pink, I'm saying, is the better spawns because it's closer and easier to defend the hill from this side. So shooting this way, you're shooting downhill, you've got high advantage. It's far easier to win these, to win the hill from this side of the hill. Now, if the pink spawn is blocked, you'll spawn yellow, so that's your secondary spawn if you're the pink team, if the enemy pushes up and ends up blocking the spawn. Now you can block, and then obviously if blue is blocked, the next spawn for blue is teal. Now you can block both pink and yellow spawns by hitting the yellow shaded area on the map, or being in that general vicinity. That will flip the enemy to the blue spawns, which is probably what you want to try and do as early as possible. If you spawn teal and you were spawning blue, that means someone from the pink side has pushed through the hill and applied pressure to the front of this general vicinity. So you see this blue shaded area. If someone from the pink team is in this area, the enemy team, or even further, obviously, the enemy team will then start to spawn teal. That can also happen if someone from the pink team decides to flank through P1. Just be very careful that if you spawn teal, it might mean that they're either push through P2, or it might mean that they've decided to try and rotate towards P3, which is here, and as a result, you've spawned further deep. Now, if you spawn yellow, generally means the enemy have pushed through P2, or they're very close to their side of P2. So, in fact, in order to block these pink spawns, the enemy team from the blue side only really have to get to this side of P2. They don't actually need to push through P2. So, generally, it means if you spawn yellow, the enemy have put a fair amount of pressure on the hill. So the blue, I've seen a lot of players from the pink side in the VODs I've watched to do my research for this, gets in this horrible trap back here because the enemy team are literally just sat this side of P2. You've got one person on it, and it's really hard to it's obviously a marathon almost to get to it. So if you spawn blue and you want to try and flip ASAP, obviously you don't want to do this too late into P2 because obviously you want the spawns for P3. You can do this by blocking both yellow and pink and leaving the teal spawn open, and then what that will mean is the enemy team will then, instead of spawning in either of these two because you're blocking them, they'll spawn all the way back over here towards this little cafe area or the shop, whatever it is. Now, if you're pink side, let's say you're pink side, the best thing you want to do on this hill is just try and push through P2, get the kills, push through P2, and block the blue spawns and spawn the enemy furthest away as possible. And then you also sort of want to have someone P1 ready for the flank in case anyone from who spawns teal decides they want to try and pinch around the side. And then obviously towards the end of P2, the pink team then want to push all the way through to teal into this back spawn here, and then that will eventually flip the enemy out for P3. So you can see here the pink and blue sides are sort of flipped here because you can just see how close the pink spawns are here. So it doesn't take a genius to understand that the pink spawns are definitely better here. It's closer, it's easier to hold from this point, and you're pretty much close to the rotation of P4. So you need this spawn for P3. It's by far the better spawn to have. Now, if the pink spawn is blocked, the next spawn, what will happen is it will go to blue. You'll be blue and you'll flip. So unless the enemy blocking blue or teal at the point in that, and someone on the enemy team is also blocking pink, you'll spawn there. But let's say an enemy's literally just spawned in. They're in this general area where my cursor is here, and an enemy team is also, so you've got people here on the enemy team, and you've got people like pushed up through P4 on the enemy team. You'll spawn yellow. But just bear in mind that it's fairly easy to flip spawns here, so you want to be careful not to let anyone into the general vicinity, because all it takes to flip is these spawns to be open and non-blocked, and someone block this pink, and it's an easy flip. It doesn't generally go to yellow unless all of these other spawns are already blocked. So if you spawn yellow, generally it means pressure's coming from P1 and the right-hand side of P4. So just be very careful that if you spawn yellow and you were spawning pink, for example, it means the enemy has made their way through P4 or through this general box area and they're pushing the right-hand side, and the enemies are just coming off spawn and they will start to apply pressure from a P1. Now, if blue spawns are blocked by the enemy wrapping through the bridge, the enemy team will then default to spawn in teal, and these spawns are very easily blocked by being this side of P1. So say, for example, if you imagine a line where my cursor is, if your teammate tends to push past this line down the S-skids towards their side of P1, it will simply flip them. So you need to be very careful not to push too far through P1. As I say, it's very easy to flip from here, and you do need to keep these back spawns. Now, if you're blue team, you really want to try and leave your spawns open as much as possible to hopefully enable the flip. You want to try and play flanks while the rest of your team applies pressure from the front as some form of distraction. And the people on the flank, all their job is to block these spawns so that when you end up getting kills, the enemy team do spawn back here, and you've got the easy flip just like that. So yeah, moving on to P4. So this is a very weird one. It took me I had to watch multiple VODs for all of the hills, but this one I need a little bit more closer attention to. So if the hill is unoccupied, let's say neither team are on the hill and it's contested or it's contested, the default spawns will be yellow and teal, obviously dependent on where your team's coming from. Now, if the hill is occupied, which it probably will be for 90% of the time, then the spawns are going to be just defaultly pink and blue. Now, the pink spawns are naturally better because of how close it is to P4, and for the simple fact of how easy it actually is to block these blue spawns. You can see the blue block spawns here are really quite close to the pink spawn, so it takes maybe 3 seconds off pink spawn to block blue. And if, as I say, if blue is blocked, the enemy team will then spawn further out towards teal. Similarly, on the flip side of that, if the pink spawn's blocked, you'll spawn yellow. Now, as I just quickly said, it's very easy to block blue spawns from pink side. So blue end up spawning teal 90% of the time. Pink has to be blocked by pushing through their side of P1 or through P4 itself. So it's a lot harder to spawn pink out than it is to spawn blue out. Spawning blue out is literally just a walk 3 steps from pink spawn and you're pretty much spawning blue teal. So it's a bit of a joke, but maybe it's a glitch. I'm not really sure, but that's generally what happens. As I say, 90% of the time you end up just having a battle where this side on the left-hand side is spawning pink, whereas the enemy team are spawning teal. So that's why, as I say, I've decided the pink side here is the better. The left-hand side spawn here is far better. So note that if, let's say someone from the blue team decides to pinch pink here, and they've managed to work their way through this side of P1, so they're in this P3 area here. Obviously, that will block pink. Note that if this happens and no one is blocking teal, the enemy, you have the potential to spawn here. So this is a great way to flip if you want the pink spawns. And a lot of P3 blocks both yellow and pink. So if you have teammates doing this, expect the enemies to spawn behind you. So let's say you're on the blue side, you pretty much just ran through teal here. And you've got teammates, you realise on the minimap your teammates have pushed through to old P3 and they're getting kills. Chances are you want to turn around because they're going to spawn teal, because they're going to be, blocking both these pink and yellow spawns. Now, if you start to spawn yellow and you were spawning pink, generally means that someone from the blue team has pushed through P4, or is on the the P4 side of P3. So P3 is this whole area here. So if they're on this side of P3, obviously it means you're going to spawn yellow. Now, if you spawn teal and you were spawning pink, that means the enemy has flanked and is blocking you from somewhere in P3, or they've managed to obtain some sort of map control where they're blocking both pink and the yellow spawns. Now, if you're blue, this is the little bit of a strat. If you're blue, you really want to flip these spawns out. So the best way you can do this is to push through, maybe get a teammate to run through P1 and take a route whilst applying frontal pressure. As I say, it's quite easy to block both these pink and yellow spawns just by being in P3, which is this area here. So all it takes is someone to spawn in, run up mid through P1, block these spawns. The rest of your team apply pressure, focus on the kills first. The enemy team will then spawn behind you at teal, and then Bob's your uncle, as the saying goes. Now, if you're on the pink side, you really want to try and have someone P3, so they could be laid down in a cruddy corner or something like that. And their job is to essentially ensure the enemy can't pinch or block spawns, and then the rest of the team either can help. One guy can maybe help out doing this, but realistically, they want a lot of weight, so that you can have one guy doing it and the rest of your team sort of applying pressure to P4, trying to get as much heal time as possible. But just be very careful not to push too far up, because obviously you want to maintain a block of these pink spawns yourself. So moving on to P5, which you find is under the bridge just here. And again, the good side and bad side has swapped again. It was a little bit difficult to decide what was the better side on this one. But I've decided that pink is simply better due to it's a little bit closer to the hill, plus there's a little bit more cover in these trucks actually getting to the hill itself. The only downside with pink is it's a little bit easy for pink to end up spawning yellow, which we'll get onto very shortly. Now, if the blue is blocked, chances are they're going to flip. So if you have someone on the pink side who's a little bit overzealous and they want to get some kills and they're kill whoring maybe, and they've pushed through P5 and they're in this side of the building, the middle building, let's say they're this side of this middle building, chances are the enemy's going to flip and they might spawn yellow if you've just had someone run off the pink spawn, but they might spawn pink if you haven't got people close enough to this. But realistically, 90% of the time they're going to spawn yellow, because you're going to have people just running off spawn, and as a result they're going to be blocking it from sight. So pink, but be very careful that blue, if this is blocked, so let's say I've just given the example that if this is blocked by someone pushed out this side of the main building, blue can flip to yellow. But let's say both the yellow and pink are blocked by someone who's maybe just spawned here and just spawned here, and then you have someone also push through, the enemy team can still spawn blue, which can cause some really tricky, unreadable situations. So you just got to be very aware of where the rest of your team are. Use that attack map, press the back button and press right bumper or R1. See the attack map and really get an idea of where your teammates are when you're getting kills, when you're getting the kills. So Pink can actually be blocked. This is very bizarre here. It took me a lot of research to realize that pink can be very easily blocked by being in this side of P1 or pushed through P1 like so. And if pink blocked, they're going to spawn yellow. So it's a very good spawn trap opportunity from the blue team because they can just have someone sat on this general area watching the run from the yellow to the spawn, to the hill, sorry, whilst the rest of the team are sort of pushed up to the main area of the spawn, to the hill. So just be very careful that you can't have all teammates pushed up, and this will leave the blue spawn too open, and the yellow spawners will just have the opportunity to flip. So if you spawn yellow and you were spawning pink, it generally means that an enemy is pushed through P1, maybe simply to get to the bridge, or they might be trying to get to the spawn trap. So just be very careful that if you spawn yellow, have your wits about you. Maybe take a route round where my cursor is, rather than just run into directly to the hill, because chances are you're gonna be able to shoot someone in the back realistically. Now, if you spawn yellow and you were spawning blue, that means the enemy is pinching P5 from both sides. They're going to be blocking both blue and pink. So if you've got teammates on P5 when you spawn yellow and you were spawning blue, just communicate to them that you're going to get pinched from both sides. So be very careful, play for kills, get off the hill, and just, sit in a corner, basically. So if you are the blue side spawners, the strat I would say is you really want to have someone P1 almost all of the time, because that makes every single kill you get way more valuable, because the enemy will end up spawning much further out. It's going to take them another maybe 5 to 10 seconds longer to get to P5 than it would be if they were spawning pink. And then whilst that's happening, the rest of the team can sit back P5. One can be sat on this truck watching just generally over, and the rest of the team can be sat on and around P5. Now, the strat I'd say, if you're on the pink side of this map here, you want to try and maintain control of P1 to guarantee these close spawns. So you want to have a bit of a gunfight to this guy who's maybe on the blue team, who knows that the spawn trap's possible. You want to make sure that that guy doesn't stay alive. You want to have complete P1 control if you're on the pink side of the spawn, just so you can guarantee these close spawns, and then you can just have the rest of the team simply flood the front, because realistically, as long as you're spawning pink, they're spawning blue, you're going to get to the hills far quicker than they will be able to. So that's pretty much going to do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it made sense. If you have any questions down below, feel free to ask in the comments. That, or there's going to be a document on my Discord where you can literally, it's going to be like a Word document with a brief summary of what I've explained. So if you want to take a look at this in your own time, you can join my Discord, go to the Spawn Guides little channel, and it will be there for you guys to review. You can share it with your team, all that shabazz. So that's actually going to do from me. Ciao for now.